Alright boys, so today I got a brand new Arc 3.0 Titan build for you. This build is really heavily leaning into that lightning god aspect of the Arc Titan. I was never a fan of Striker Titan to begin with, but now using this build and using the Touch of Thunder aspect that makes your storm grenades literally track, and it's like a roaming lightning storm. Like, I think that's so cool and it looks very visually satisfying to me. So we're really leaning into that aesthetic, and it actually does pretty good at ad clear and damage. But before I get into the build, I have a pretty important announcement for you guys, pretty special one. I'm gonna be on the next episode of the Guardian Downcast, and they've asked me to ask my community if you guys have any questions for me, whether it's about me personally, about my YouTube channel, about Destiny. Leave your questions in the comments down below, and I'll take all your questions, send them to the host, and we can answer them in the podcast. You have until Thursday the 25th until about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you have any questions, ask them before that time period, because then we are recording the podcast on Thursday night and the podcast will be going live Monday the 29th. So please feel free to ask any questions you would like, guys, and I'm really looking forward to reading your questions and answering them. Alright, now let's get into the build. Okay, so for this build, we're using the Thruster class ability because why not? It's new and it's fun. We're also using the Thunderclap melee, again, because why not? Although I think that the Seismic Strike would probably be better just for like that increased movement ability, but I want to use the Thunderclap, so that's why I'm using it. But you really want to use these Storm Grenades. Now you can buy these from Ikora. They're not originally part of the Striker Titan class, but you just go there. I think it costs like 3,000 Glimmer and you can get all the grenades. And for our aspects, we're using Touch of Thunder and we're using Knockout. Now I'm mainly using Knockout because it has 2 fragment slots, but the most important aspect is Touch of Thunder. Now what this does is it enhances the functionality of your arc grenades. Now specifically for Storm Grenade, it creates a roaming thundercloud that tracks nearby targets and fires bolts of lightning at foes beneath it. So essentially your Storm Grenade now tracks and continuously causes lightning strikes at enemies, which will chain to do more damage, jolt them with the 1 fragment. I have it on for this build. So this aspect is just insane, and it kind of sounds like it was originally a Warlock aspect. This is not something I would expect the Titan to have, but honestly, give it to Titans, it really doesn't matter, it's still cool regardless. Now moving on to my fragments, I am using Spark of Shock, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Discharge, and Spark of Resistance. Spark of Shock and Spark of Magnitude are absolutely massive for this build. Spark of Shock makes my arc grenade jolt targets, which is huge because it increases the chaining capabilities of my grenades, and Spark of Magnitude makes my Storm Grenade just last longer, which means it's going to roam for longer and cause more lightning strikes. Spark of Discharge allows my Arc Weapon Final Blast to create an Ionic Trace, and I am using an Arc SMG for this build, so it fits perfectly. And Spark of Resistance will give me bonus damage resist when I'm surrounded by combatants. Again, I am using an SMG, so by nature I'm going to be surrounded by enemies. Now since this build is heavily focused on grenade spam, I am using 2 weapons with Demolitionist. I'm using my Deliverance with Demolitionist Chill Clip. You guys have seen me use this weapon before, it is amazing. And I'm using my Ikelos SMG with Threat Detector Demolitionist. Now I'm glad I had this weapon just sitting in my vault just collecting dust, because now I can pull it out and it fits perfectly with this build. And I'm using Gjallarhorn because why not? It's Gjallarhorn. So my stats for this build are 100 Resilience, 71 Recovery, 31 Discipline, and 100 Strength. Now the reason why my Discipline stat is so low is because I have 2 weapons with Demolitionist as well as Ionic Traces and Firepower, so I decided to go for 100 Strength because the only way I'm going to generate melee energy is with the Ionic Traces. So I went with the 100 Strength. Any 100 Resilience because I want my class ability back as much as possible is going to help facilitate my grenade energy as well with double bomber mods. My exotic of choice for this build is Armamentarium, and I went for that because I want the double grenade charge. Now you could also get away with using Heart of Inmost Slate, but I figured I haven't used Armamentarium in a long time and I wanted to use it because it just sounds cool to have 2 grenades out at the same time, just roaming around and causing lightning everywhere. Now moving on to the mods, I am using Elemental Ordnance, Elemental Charge, Seeking Wells, Impact Induction, 2 stacks of Bomber, and 2 stacks of Firepower. Elemental Ordnance will generate an Arc Elemental Well whenever I get grenade kills, and those Arc Elemental Wells will seek to me as well as make me become Charger Light because of Elemental Charge and Seeking Wells. Impact Induction will generate grenade energy whenever I cause damage with a melee attack, and 2 stacks of Bomber will give me more grenade energy whenever I activate my class ability, and having 2 stacks of Firepower will give me grenade energy whenever I use my grenade while Charger Light. So you can see I have a lot of ways to generate grenade energy with this build, with double stacks of Bomber, double stacks of firepower, impact induction, as well as the ionic traces and the elemental wells. So this build is definitely very well rounded. I have my grenade spam and my melee spam, as well as high resilience and high recovery so I can stay in the fight longer. This is a very well-rounded build, and it really leans into that Arc Lightning God aesthetic of Arc Titan, and I'm really liking this build. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll put the dim link in the comments down below. And again, guys, feel free to ask me whatever questions you would like so I can send them to the host of the Guardian Downcast, and we can answer them on the podcast when it goes live on Monday. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces!